Oh, it was definitely different. I'd never heard Pete play anything like this before, and I never did. Playing a totally different thing other than just straight ahead jazz, you know. But he could do it just like nothing, you know, bang, on organ or whatever it is, you know. We just followed him. I would be following him to this day if he was around, boy. Yeah, I guess I'm not comfortable talking about Pete unless I have tears in my eyes, which I do right now. But he was the greatest musician I ever met in my life.
Born in 1932, Jolly grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, which had a strong jazz scene pre-World War II. A prodigy who started playing accordion at age 3, Jolly demonstrated his skills on that instrument on the Hobby Lobby TV show at age 7. He became an adept pianist as a youngster as well, and at age 13, met and befriended the soon-to-be virtuoso jazz and rock guitarist Howard Roberts. When Roberts moved to Los Angeles in 1952, Jolly followed him and began to establish himself in that city's fecund jazz milieu, playing with Shorty Rogers' band and garnering many studio session dates. Jolly released the first of about a dozen studio albums in 1955 with Duo, Trio, Quartet for RCA Victor. Dave Segal. I've been a music journalist since 1983, and I currently freelance for The Stranger, Pitchfork, and The Wire. My association with Light in the Attic began in 2011 when I wrote liner notes for Donnie and Joe Emerson's Dreaming Wild reissue, one of the label's most popular titles. I also had the honor of writing the notes to Pete Jolly's recently reissued cult classic, Seasons. It was a career highlight for sure. I didn't really hear about Pete Jolly's Seasons until Dusty Groove Records reissued it on CD in 2007. The disc, as well as a long out-of-print LP, had eluded me ever since, so I could only listen to it on YouTube, hardly an ideal situation. Seasons was spoken of in hushed tones by serious record collectors, who, make no mistake, are some of the most discerning folks in the world. And once you hear the album, you totally understand why. Nothing else in jazz really sounds like Seasons. It's so light on its feet, free yet sweetly melodic, exquisitely and uniquely textured, and surprisingly funky in places. Jolly would never make anything like it again, and understandably so. It was a one-off miracle. Which is why in 2022 I posted on Twitter, "It's Pete Jolly's 90th birthday, so I am once again asking a record label to reissue Seasons. It's been out of print on vinyl for 51 years. So, imagine my surprise. A few months later, Light in the Attic's Matt Sullivan asked me if I wanted to write liner notes for Seasons. Never in my life have I responded yes so quickly to a writing assignment. Seasons is an anomaly in West Coast jazz keyboardist Pete Jolly's sizable catalog. Produced by Herb Alpert and released by his A&M label in 1970, the album found Jolly branching out beyond his trusty acoustic piano, incorporating Wurlitzer electronic piano, accordion, musette, Sanovox accordion, and Hammond B3 organ. The expanded palette, combined with a new group of musicians besides longtime bassist Wrecking Crew member Chuck Berghofer, resulted in a stunning departure from Jolly's more traditional outings. Now join me in celebrating the enchanting and mysterious songs of Pete Jolly's Seasons. The 71-second Rainbows is a fiery organ fugue that could pass for the intro to a 90s Stereolab track. Seemingly a throwaway tune, Rainbows shows how ahead of and outside of their time Jolly and company were. Another highlight, Plummer Park, glides into the subliminal funk vein of Sun Ra's Twin Stars of Thence. Perhaps Humphrey, whose solo albums abound with funkiness, had a major role in steering the piece into head-nodding territory. Jolly gets off some amazing keyboard tones that are also ripe for enterprising hip-hop producers' MPCs. Similar groove magic occurs on Springs, on which Berghofer's sly funk bassline contributes to making it blaxploitation flick soundtrack material of exquisite subtlety. Nightmares on Wax and Ugly Duckling had the good sense to sample Springs. Written by Paul Williams' collaborator Roger Nichols, Seasons is a gently cheerful, Wurlitzer-dominated tune that flirts with tweeness, but it still puts a spring in your step. You can hear it looped by former Cannibal Ox MC Vast Air on Look Mom, No Hands. The strangely undulating structure and tempo shifts in Sandstorm point to an almost return-to-forever-like complexity, albeit executed with much less bombast than Chick Corea's band. Another intricate, unusual meter guides Autumn Festival with a uniquely beautiful, melancholy mood conjured by Jolly on Musette. What is this music? It's hard to pinpoint, but it is incredibly special. Riding Humphrey's low-slung quasi-martial soul jazz funk groove and augmented by Pisano's fuzz-tone rock guitar, Prairie Road induces shivers. Indian Summer, with brass arranged by Bill Holman, is another low-key groover with bongo conga accents and Jolly's pellucid Hammond clusters, until the last half when the mood shifts into climactic James Bond theme mode. It's the most demonstrative moment on this understated magnum opus. Finally, our humble bandleader ushers us to the exits with Pete Jolly, fueled by musette musings that cast a sentimental, morose spell despite Berghofer's stealthily funky bass line. Logic would dictate seasons to end with Indian summer, but Jolly had a perverse streak. It is a profound pleasure to welcome one of the world's finest bassists, Chuck Berghofer, to this podcast. Chuck's discography is mind-bogglingly vast and illustrious. While he's played with dozens of household names in his long career, his own name is unjustly obscure. But not after this podcast, if all goes well. Chuck's bass lines are some of the most iconic in pop culture history. That's him on Nancy Sinatra's 1965 chart topper, These Boots Are Made for Walkin'. That's him on the indelibly groovy theme to 70s TV cop show, Barney Miller. That's him on the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds. I could go on and on. As versatile as he is virtuosic, Chuck Berghofer's also worked on over 400 soundtracks, played with the world-class studio group The Wrecking Crew, and done sessions with Elvis Presley, Joni Mitchell, and Paul McCartney. But most importantly, Chuck Berghofer was Pete Jolly's most dedicated bandmate, enjoying a nearly 40-year musical relationship with the late, great keyboardist. It's wonderful to have you here, Chuck. Talk about your involvement and experience playing on Seasons. Talk about how, what you contributed to it, and given that it was like a short session, and it was all improvised, can you remember any details about it?
Well, I remember sitting before we even started that, in the room with Herb Alpert, and he got my electric bass, and I'm showing him how I'm playing it, and then he said, "Well, try this and do this." And I had a pencil with a rubber band on it for a while, pushing the string, and none of that worked really. And I sort of got bugged, I said, "Well, here," and I handed him the bass. "You play it," Anyway, that kind of started out that way, and then we did this gig. And as I recall, it didn't start with the whole orchestra the way it's on the tape. It just started with Pete and I and a smaller group, and then they added stuff to it later. But we just played this stuff that we've never played like that before. Pete was playing all this stuff totally unbelievable all over the place. And I would follow him, and we just did that. And then we thought, how do we do that? Well, Pete could do that. That was a strange thing. And I don't think I ever even listened to the album until many years later, because we did just straight ahead jazz things after that. And then when this album finally came out and I listened to it, I thought, God, that's amazing. I didn't realize it was that good. The way they put it together with all the instruments and the way Pete played, there's nobody in the world that could do what he did on that album. He just can play any style, and I guess I'm not comfortable talking about Pete unless I have tears in my eyes, which I do right now. But he was the greatest musician I ever met in my life.
As a friend and a musician, why do you think you two bonded so well? Compared to all the musicians you played with, it seems like Pete Jolly was the one you had the closest connection to. Would that be accurate?
Oh, definitely accurate. And the bass player that played with him before was Ralph Pena, and that was a guy that I took my 3 lessons I had on bass were from him. He was a wonderful guy and just an amazing bass player. And I go to hear them, and I just sit and listen to the two of them playing. And anyway, it got to the point where Ralph Pena got called to go with Frank Sinatra, and that's when he went on the road. That's when I started working with Pete, because I worked with Pete. I mean, he heard me. He played a gig by himself in Pasadena, and I knew he was there, so I took my bass over. This is before amps and all that. Just took my bass over there, and I played with him there. And that's when he thought, wow, okay. So when Ralph left, that's how I got that gig, and that's how I learned to play with him, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me, just absolutely the best.
Did you have the sense that Seasons was special or different in your realm of experience with Pete Jolly?
Totally different. I'd never heard Pete play anything like this before, and I never did. It was just like it's hard for me to remember if we had music. I can't remember. We had chord symbols or something. I can't remember. But when I listened to it, finally, I thought, God, I can't believe how that sounds.
In your career, which is vast, does it stand out compared to a lot of the other records that you've done?
Yeah, it does. I listen to it now and I think, God, I could hear myself playing, and I thought, I was a young guy then, but I could, I don't know. I was telling my wife, I sound pretty good on that, So it's amazing. It was a change, a totally change.
It was like a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence that probably could never be repeated.
Definitely that.
Did Pete say, like, Chuck, we really should do something out of the ordinary? We've been doing this style for quite a while. Why don't we try something way out of the ordinary? Did he ever say that to you?
Not really. No, he just did it.
He just did it, and he sprang it on you, and you had to react spontaneously.
Yeah.
He trusted you to follow him.
Well, yeah, he did, and and I say, I would be following him to this day if he was around. Boy.
Hello, this is Matt from Light in the Attic. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Liner Notes. Pete Jolly's Seasons is available on vinyl at lightintheattic.net and at all fine record stores around the globe. A big thank you to Chuck and Julie Berghofer, Dave Segal, and Graham Gibson. And thank you for listening. Liner Notes is a co-production of Light in the Attic and Ruinous Media. This and all episodes of Light in the Attic's Liner Notes are available wherever you listen to podcasts. For more info, visit lightintheattic.net.